Hey everyone, Brendan Snyder here. How are you? Thank you so much for joining me and welcome to another episode of New Music Finds. So this is where I like to collect together all the different music that I've picked up in the past week and present it to you. And of course I get it from different places like my local record store, but also online retail like Amazon, eBay, and more. For this past week, we've also got Record Store Day rolled into all of this, so a little extra bonus for that. I've got a bunch of things to dive into here with you, and I'll do that in just a moment. But before we get into it, if you're new to my channel and you haven't already hit the subscribe button, please click the button. Also leave a comment, hit like, all those things help support my channel. I would greatly appreciate it. And of course, as an added bonus, by subscribing, you'll be able to stay up to date on all that's going on in the world of music, just like this with another episode of New Music Finds. So we always start off with new releases, but I got a couple items that came in late from the previous week of November 18th, and so I want to show you those first. So out on November 18th, one of the things was U.D.O. Legacy, a 2-CD best of collection. This thing here, pretty cool. It's got tracks that span first of all, the whole career of the band U.D.O. So 35 years. They started in 1987 and released with the first album. 4 rare unreleased tracks, and those 4 tracks are really good that's on here. So there are 29 tracks from albums and 4 additional tracks of the rarities, so 33 tracks, and there is something from every album, studio album that U.D.O. put out. No live tracks on here, all studio 2-CD collection. I was very happy about that. That, beyond just being a greatest hits, I think they chose the right songs for it, making it a really good listen sequenced all the way through. All right, here's one that I just did unboxing on, and I will leave a link in the description below if you want to check it out, but Queen, The Miracle, the Super Deluxe Edition Collector's Box. This thing here is 6 discs, or actually 7 discs, I guess, 5 CDs and a DVD and a Blu-ray in there, although the DVD and Blu-ray duplicate each other. But this is the original album, and I showed you this the week prior when I actually got it on release day. This is the 2-CD edition of it, but this here being the Super Deluxe edition of it. And it's got, an LP that's in here. It's got the album itself remastered. The LP is the original track listing, and it adds a track to it, Too Much Love Will Kill You, that was later pulled from the album. It's got the Miracle Sessions. It's got an alternate edition of the album. It's got instrumental takes, which is actually really cool, getting a chance to focus on the music, having the vocals removed from it. There's an interviews disc, and then there's that DVD Blu-ray that's got music videos and making of videos and that sort of stuff on it. So all in all, it's a very cool box. Again, if you want to know more about it, just check the description for that link to the full unboxing of that. Moving to November 25th release day. So despite that actually being Record Store Day, some new stuff came out. Actually, quite a few new things came out. I only picked up 2 of these things. First one being The Cure Wish 30th Anniversary Edition of this 1992 album. So 3 CDs in here. The first one being the album itself. The second one being previously unreleased demos in here, and they're all top-notch quality. Some of the past ones that Robert Smith has put together had home demos on it. They were a little too raw for my taste kind of stuff. Don't necessarily go back and listen to those all too often. These are really good. Even the instrumental takes on here are cool. And then the last disc in here, which calls rare previously unreleased tracks also, are remixes of stuff. So sort of like getting the album remastered, getting a bunch of demos and outtakes, and then getting remix disc in here. But that was very cool. Again, really enjoying that. And the other one that I was super excited about, although this one didn't really go over a big storm with me, Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers Live at the Fillmore 1997 4-CD box set. The track listing that's on here is a lot of cover songs. I think this has 58 tracks and something like 33 of these are cover songs, and the idea of that sounded really good to me, but a lot of the tracks are from like the 1950s and 60s, and they don't really fit in terms of what I expect from Tom Petty, although I understand that those are the artists that influenced Tom Petty, and those are artists that played at the Fillmore, and it was sort of the throwback that he was trying to do as part of this, and they were trying to have a good time and play the stuff that they love. But next to Tom Petty's material, it didn't quite do it for me. As a historical, piece of content and getting stuff that isn't on Tom Petty albums, it is pretty cool. And so some of you may really dig it. Just give a read to the track listings that are in here. There's also a bunch of dialogue and stuff like that, which is cool, but not really something I want to hear over and over kind of a thing. The box set, though, very cool. Actually does come with some memorabilia stuff. There's a patch. There's a backstage pass. You get a really nice book in this one that doesn't come in the 2 CD edition, and you get guitar picks with it. So all in all, I was actually really excited about this box because I saw the small nature of it, and I didn't think there was going to be a lot happening with it, but it stepped up. 4 CDs plus all that stuff that's in there, pretty cool. But moving on to what was really the big thing from this past week, and it was Record Store Day. In fact, they didn't actually need any regular releases because there was so much cool stuff coming out as part of Record Store Day. And what was also cool is they've been ramping up in the last couple of years, having more and more CD releases as part of Record Store Day, and not just the straight vinyl, going way, way back, because I think this was the 14th year. Next year, I think, is going to be the 15th year, being an anniversary year for them on this. Early on, they had CDs, and then it just kind of tapered away and focused only on vinyl, and it seems like now it's coming back. And so this one was available as a vinyl box set as well, but I picked it up for CD purposes. Fleetwood Mac, the alternate albums collection. So it has the self-titled album, Rumors, Tusk, Live, Mirage, Tango in the Night. And this is the alternate takes edition. So if you've been buying or know of the deluxe editions of each of those albums that came out, there was always a bonus disc with it as an alternate version of the album, having outtakes, different take of a track, a demo or whatever, that kind of a thing. Well, in here, they've actually compiled those with new artwork, alternate artwork, I should really say, different than what the albums that we know and love. So very cool to finally get them like that. They're in individual sleeves. There is no book that comes with this, unfortunately. But all in all, I am glad to get a hold of this on CD. The vinyl versions of this had been getting released one by one over the last, I guess, 6 years or so, because that's how many discs we've got here. But this is the first time they've put them out on CD. Very, very glad to get that. And I have to say that it's really given me a new take on those albums, hearing them in this configuration. An album that's been out of print for a very long time, and I was excited to get a hold of it, but I didn't really know what I was getting a hold of. Ringo Starr, Old Way. Yes, I am a fan of Ringo Starr, and I do like this album very much. I've always been a fan of Ringo Starr, one of my favorite guys out of the Beatles in terms of the solo material. But what I like about Ringo is he always has cool guests with him, backing him up and stuff like that. Somebody who he has quite often is Joe Walsh of the Eagles, and of course James Gang and Solo and Barnstorm, etc. And there's usually one song on there with him on it. It's always my favorite track. Well, this album here has Joe Walsh on all of the tracks, and he co-writes most all the songs that are on here. So if you're a Joe Walsh fan, this sounds like a Joe Walsh album with Ringo Starr singing on it. And so I got home, popped this thing on, and I fell in love with this immediately, far more than it just being a Ringo Starr album. I feel like it's a long-lost Joe Walsh album, and that just icing on the cake for me in terms of what I was able to pick up. And this one I didn't even know was coming out. Must have been a late edition or something, or maybe I just glossed over it, but Ultravox, Rage in Eden, and this is the Steven Wilson stereo mix of the album itself. But as a bonus, and I didn't know this when I picked it up until I got home, it's actually got 2 discs in here. It has the album itself, and then it's got the instrumental versions of that album. And so the disc one in here that is the Steven Wilson remix is actually taken from a deluxe edition box set version of this that comes out on December 2nd. But that instrumentals disc is not part of that box. So something making it unique to Record Store Day is this. And I wasn't planning on picking up the whole box, so I end up lucking out getting exactly what I wanted, the Steven Wilson remix along with this instrumentals disc. So just very cool. Then I picked up 4 vinyl records, so not just CDs. I do like my vinyl as well, especially if that's the only way I can get it. I went to Factory Records on Saturday and found a Record Store Day item that I didn't know was coming out. And again, could have just glossed over. It could have been a late edition. I don't know. But this, sweet, Give Us a Wink, and it's the alternative mixes and demos. They've been putting out one of these sort of alternate demos, outtakes sort of thing for the last 2 different Record Store Days. And it was a collection of, in a volume 1 and a volume 2, but this is the first time that I'm aware of, at least, that they're putting it out now surrounding an album itself. And it happens to be one of my favorite Sweet albums, this one and Off the Record, the follow-up album. So very cool. It is a 2-disc set, limited to 4,000 copies, and it's on orange vinyl. They do say that the tracks on here have never been released, which is not entirely true, because I've got deluxe edition CDs where they've got bonus tracks, and some of these tracks, these mixes, are on there. They call them the Munich mix, and those are listed. So as far as I can tell, it has been released, but still wanted to pick that up. This one here was the one that I was going for, that I was probably more excited about than anything else. A new Doors album, Paris Blues. Only reason it's not open yet is that if you guys saw my Let's Go to Record Store Day, I had to think about that for a second, video, the experience video that I filmed. I went over to Joe's house, one of my friends, and we listened to his copy, so I just have not taken mine out of the plastic, but I fully intend to. I have listened to it, and during that video, you guys might have heard me say, we discussed that we had heard that the quality was not so good, and I don't know where that rumor came from, because in all, I think the quality was excellent on this. No tape hiss, nothing like that. Wasn't audience recording, and if it was a very good recording of the live tracks. But all in all, I was very impressed with the recordings of this stuff, and why stuff has never been released is beyond me, and I'm glad they're still compiling and putting things together. But great to get this Doors album. I do hope that it gets a CD release. So far, no word on that, but I have this for enjoyment, at least for now. And if you want to check out Paris Blues, the unreleased track, the studio track, everything else on it is live, but that one track is studio, you can stream that. So at least you can go check out the key thing that release was for, but unfortunately can't get the rest of that stuff without picking that up. All right, we got a Devo-related release from Jared Castle called Invisible Man EP. 6 brand new recordings from him. And this stuff that he's been doing sounds to me very much like Devo. So as far as I'm concerned, I'm just getting brand new Devo, even though it's not the full band. It is on clear invisible vinyl. And then this one here being an older Record Store Day release, although they did a reissue of it for this one here, I opted to pick up the original Jimi Hendrix Burning Desire, because this one, the original one, was limited numbered edition, and the current one is not. Also, this was cheaper by a few bucks picking it up. I understand it to be about 7 years old, and they're now doing a reissue, and I don't know if they're going to start doing that more and more with stuff. I kind of don't like that idea. I think they've released it, and the whole point to Record Store Day is that the stuff is limited, so if they start reissuing stuff, it sort of is going to muddy the water and devalue a lot of it and just make it not as cool, to where people are going to stop buying stuff because, hey, if it's going to get reissued, it's going to get reissued. Why shell out for it, kind of stuff. But there's that. And as I mentioned, I had gone to Factory Records on Saturday, partially to check over any last sort of minute leftover Record Store Day stuff, which I found that Sweet album. But I found a couple records while I was there too. Pipe Dream. This one here is a Tim Bogart album, a band that he was part of. And if you recall, the last couple records that I've picked up recently were Tim Bogart solo albums. So very cool and glad to get a hold of that. And I've been searching for this one for a while, but self-titled Brownsville Station album from 1977. I'm a big fan of when they dropped the word station and just became Brownsville. That album is so good. This is the album right before it, so I'm looking forward to checking this out and seeing if this one here just rocks as much as that one does. Don't know if it will or it won't, but their stuff is so hard to come by. It's out of print on both vinyl and CD. I hope that they will eventually put this stuff back in print, but for now at least, picking that up. And that record was $5.95 actually. Both records, each $5.95, so pretty good deal on both of those. Very hard to come by albums. But all in all, 13, 14 things right there for you guys. Hopefully you enjoyed going through and seeing all the stuff that I picked up, including, of course, the bonus record store day stuff. But there you go. Let me know what you guys have picked up over the past week and what's your current favorite find and so forth. And, certainly check back every week on Wednesdays for other episodes of New Music Finds. Take care, everyone. Have a good one, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.